The Caspian Sea is the largest inland body of water on the planet Earth. It stretches over 1,000 kilometers from north to south with a maximum width of 435 kilometers. More than 130 rivers flow into the Caspian Sea, but none flows out. The sea has no connection with the world ocean, and its salinity is significantly lower than that of oceanic waters. A remarkable feature of the Caspian Sea is the fluctuation of its water level. Over the past 2,500 years, the difference between its maximum and minimum levels has reached 15 meters. The Caspian Sea was also not stable in the 20th century. From 1930 to 1977, its level dropped by 3 meters. A brief rise followed, but since 1996, the sea level has been steadily declining. And it has now reached its lowest point in the last 500 years. Possible causes of this instability include climate warming and the artificial reduction of river inflows that feed the sea. All for the sake of human prosperity and comfort. But how do these changes affect the Caspian seal? Once abundant, now endangered. Standing at the top of the food chain, it is highly sensitive to any changes in the Caspian ecosystem. For many years, we have been organizing scientific expeditions to locate seal haulouts and assess their distribution in the Kazakhstan part of the Caspian Sea. The annual drop in sea level has become the main challenge in preparing and conducting these expeditions. However, we are gradually reaching the most remote areas and witnessing firsthand how the Caspian is changing and the conditions in which the Caspian seal is surviving. In the past, seals would venture into the Ural River, which was formerly known as the Zhayek. They even used to haul out on its banks near the city of Guryev, now known as Atirau. The dam, built in the late 1940s, shows how much the river has shrunk. However, it is still navigable. One must simply stay within the shipping channel. Fishing is also carried out here. Closer to the sea, the Zhayek spreads out, forming a delta. But the river is no longer strong enough to carry suspended particles of silt and sand far into the sea. Everything settles in the mouth of the river, creating difficult-to-navigate shallows. Only a few fishermen, following their secret water routes, dare to venture into the sea. But even they sometimes wait for a rise in water levels to return to the river. In the late 19th century, the Caspian seal formed numerous haulouts on the islands near the mouth of the Zhayek. By the 1930s, however, the number of seals on the islands in the northern Caspian had significantly decreased. the number of islands also diminished. The drop in sea level caused many of them to connect with the mainland. Near the mouth of the river, only the southwest ШАЛЫГАХ Islands remain. On the northern Caspian, ШАЛЫГАХ refers to the sandbanks on the seabed. During low water periods, sandbanks emerge, and during high water periods, they're submerged again. They are formed in the winter due to ice movement. Slowly drifting ice fields push and pile up sediment in shallow waters. This process repeats each winter. Year by year, the ШАЛЫГАХ sandbanks grow larger and eventually stop being submerged. In the Caspian Sea, fluctuations in water levels are common. During prolonged low water periods, the emerging ШАЛЫГАХs provide a refuge for numerous seabirds. As the water level drops, the birds actively occupy these areas, building their nests in the spring. Thus, under the influence of ice, bird nesting and falling water levels, sandbanks gradually turn into islands. Over many years of evolution, Caspian seals have adapted to these islands and sandbanks. Hundreds and thousands of seals once hauled out on their sandy shores. Just a few years ago, curious animals could still be seen on the water's surface or among the waves. But now, seals are no longer found in the same numbers at their former locations. And it's not just the Caspian's shallowing that's to blame. A reduction in the number of seals at the southwest ШАЛЫГАХs was noted 100 years ago. The cause was increased shipping and uncontrolled fishing near their haulouts. Little has changed over these 100 years. Spring 2023 was critical for the southwest ШАЛЫГАХs Islands. The sea has receded so much that we could not reach them. For the seals, this shallow water is also impassable. Very soon, the southwest ШАЛЫГАХs will share the fate of all the islands in this part of the sea. They will connect with the mainland and cease to exist. Shallows have always been characteristic of the northeastern part of the Caspian Sea. Once, this area was home to a vast bay called Dead Kultuk, or Ashi Kultik, which means bitter bay in Kazakh. Its water was highly saline due to increased evaporation. In the 1930s, the sea level fell dramatically. Dead Kultuk rapidly shallowed, and most of the islands that existed there merged with the mainland. By 2010, in the Bay of Komsomolets, as the remnants of dead Kultuk were renamed, there was still a small group of islands known as the Durnev Islands. In spring, tens of thousands of molting animals would gather here. But everything changed just 5 years later. April 2016, our hovercraft is being tested on the sandy bottom of the dried-up bay. We head towards the largest of the Durnev Islands, hoping to find seals. All around is shallow water, no more than 10 centimeters deep. However, further north, the depth increased, and we discovered an island where seals felt comfortable on the muddy beaches. They were molting and enjoying the process of shedding their old fur. They were situated among reeds, giving us a wonderful opportunity to approach the animals closely and discreetly to study their behavior. We also found dead seals. We took samples to determine the causes of death and the ages of the deceased animals. For the first time in a long while, we conducted such work, gathering crucial data to assess the population status of the Caspian seal. Thus, 3 relatively stable years passed. The water levels continued to fluctuate, but each spring the seals returned and occupied this holdout site. A carpet of shed fur was always left behind on the island. Then, in 2019, we saw seals at this rookery for the last time. At the end of April, an east wind pushed the water away for a long time. Usually, seals sense this and leave in advance. But this time, a small group was left behind, unable to cross the space of sand that had formed and hauled out halfway. Several kilometers to the water. It was calm and hot. Some animals tried to reach the safety of the water, while others chose to wait patiently for its return. Meanwhile, we continued our search. Our hovercraft stubbornly advanced westward. Soon, a small strip of land appeared in the sea. It was an unexplored low island. Fresh seal tracks on the sand indicated that they had been there recently. Some were still there. We arrived just in time. More and more frequently, during our expeditions, we encounter seals caught in nets. It is impossible to quantify the harm caused by discarded nets left by careless fishermen. Ghost nets, as they are aptly named by scientists and ecologists. This seal had managed to escape from the net, but the terrible wound on its neck indicated that it was not easy. We were unable to help. All we could do was hope that the wound would heal and the animal return to normal life. The island we found was at the edge of the newly formed sandbanks and shallows. On a neighboring island, we found a haul-out with a few thousand seals. And so, the mystery was solved. Where seals molt when their usual rookeries are left without water? But the drop in sea level continued, and the shallowing was relentless. Right before our eyes, the bays of Kaydak and Komsomolets turned into a saline desert. Salt storms became a frequent occurrence and constantly accompanied us. Vast water areas, influenced by the blowing winds, shrank, and salt covered everything around. The sand on the seabed eroded and tore at the air cushion vessel's underside. Someone caught in such a predicament had even worse luck. Stranded on the dried seabed without supplies of water and food, they walked through the sticky mud to the shore, leaving their boat and belongings to the mercy of the elements. Over 15 years, the shoreline has shifted westward by more than 40 kilometers. Once cozy haul-outs are now desolate and empty. Finding inhabited rookeries became increasingly difficult. The shallowing impeded even our amphibious vehicles. Yet we persisted and observed new sandbanks appearing in the northeastern part of the sea. But how many of these sandbanks are there, and how many seals are gathering in the shallows? That remained unknown. How new islands and sandbanks appear and are distributed can be understood through satellite images. But how can we find out if these islands are visited by seals? The only way to survey such large aquatic areas is from the air. Aviation support is essential. We chart flight routes for aerial surveys over these newly emerged patches of land. The initial results are disappointing. But cameras click and videos are recorded. Our expectations prove correct. We observe hundreds and thousands of seals at the new haul-out sites. There is still much work to do to accurately count them and match the photos and videos. But most importantly, they exist, and they are down below. Data showed that in the spring of 2020, around 60,000 seals were present on the islands and sandbanks in the northeastern part of the Caspian Sea. Our assumption was confirmed. Islands formed by the shallowing are actively used by seals. We obtained similar data for 2022. And so we proceed to the discovered rookeries in flat-bottomed boats. We have a large supply of fresh water and food. We have satellite maps, and our route avoids the newly formed shallows. We approach from the seaside, as it is more likely to reach the haul-out sites that way. Despite the calm, we move slowly. The boats are overloaded. And the closer we get to the rookeries, the shallower the water becomes. Although our flat-bottomed boats can handle depths of 30 centimeters, there is no longer even that much depth. Finally, we reach the designated island. Now, the task is to find a safe spot for a stationary camp. This is where the gulls have started nesting. We trust their instincts and hope that the water won't flood the camp during the high water period. Fieldwork begins. Research, searching for seal haul-outs and studying their lives. How our island has grown. In 2019, it was a small patch of land in the middle of the sea. Just 2 years later, there were already several rookeries with large seal haul-outs. Life was bustling here. The fluctuations in water levels created incredible changes. Our small team wandered in search of a dry spot to set up a permanent camp. Like the seals, which came and went, gradually surrounding us. They too were searching for a high, dry place. They were molting. And we needed to conduct our research. So we lived close to each other without disturbing one another. Now, at the end of April 2023, the island has spread out in all directions. Its area has increased many times. The seals have left it and moved to new islands. We approach them with the utmost caution. Today, we face an unusual task. We need to capture a few animals. We want to attach satellite tags to them. These tags will help us to understand how seals migrate across the Caspian Sea. With this data, we can determine which other habitats they choose in response to the lowering sea levels. But first, we need to work hard. Although all procedures are completely safe for the animals, they're not very cooperative. However, soon all misunderstandings are resolved. Weight, size, and sex of the animals, everything is carefully recorded. We're collecting truly priceless data. It will be essential for studying the genetic structure of the population. We assess the presence of infectious diseases and the levels of toxic substances in their organs and tissues. All data is recorded in special logs, and each seal is given a passport. Captured animals will carry an electronic chip for life. Upon recapture, we will be able to see what changes have occurred in their lives, how they have fed and grown. Finally, we attach a satellite tag to the seals' necks. For several months, it will transmit data about the animal's movements, dive duration and depth, and water temperature. The tag will function until next spring, when it will fall off, along with the molted fur. Very soon, we received the first data. It turned out that some seals are gathering around the ТЮЛЕНЯ Islands archipelago. The ТЮЛЕНЯ Islands archipelago is located in the northern part of the Caspian Sea, at the entrance to the vast Mangostau Bay. The names Kulali, Podgorny, Morskoi, Rybachi, Orlov, and Dolgi have long been established in local law and on nautical charts. The name of the entire archipelago is not accidental. Once, these shores were home to the main haulouts of the Caspian seal. However, intensified hunting, the development of fishing, and navigation led to the seals becoming rare visitors to the islands. The last haul-out of 160 seals was observed at Rybachi Island in 2010. We have made numerous attempts to locate seal haul-outs in this area. In 2015, we flew over all the islands of the archipelago twice. We found no seals, either in spring or autumn. In the spring of 2018, we conducted a search using an inflatable boat. Our route started from Mangistau Bay and followed the southern shores of Kulali, Rybachi and Podgorny Islands. In the 1930s and 1940s, seals were only noted here. But now, we encountered something entirely different. Rescuing a seal with deep neck cuts from a net embedded in its body is impossible. On the shore of the island, we found another sad discovery. But these grim signs of human activity indicated that despite everything, seals are visiting Mangistau Bay and approaching the islands. Yet, neither our boat survey nor aerial reconnaissance managed to locate any animals. During our search, we were exposed to a remarkable world. A world filled with the cries of numerous birds and the silence of moonlit nights. A world marked by wolf tracks on the sand and the roar of the sea surf. At times, it seemed that a vast rainbow was protecting these pristine islands from all harm. But that was only an illusion. The prolonged regression of the sea has not spared the ТЮЛЕНЯ Islands archipelago. Orlov and Dolgi Islands have become part of the mainland. Kulali and Morskoy are almost connected. To the north, new sandbanks and ШАЛЫГАХs are forming. It was in this area that new seal haulouts were recorded during aerial surveys in the fall of 2023. We intend to verify the data from the fall aerial survey and study the conditions of seal haulouts on the new rookeries. However, reaching them based on the satellite images will be challenging. We are facing extensive shallows, and we have decided to navigate them using flat-bottomed boats. We traveled 80 kilometers along the coast of the islands of Rybachi and Podgorny, but did not encounter any seals. Our first camp is on Podgorny Island. We hadn't been here for several years, but the island greeted us like old friends. The next day, we decided to pass through the narrow strait that remains between Kulali and Morskoy Islands.
Вот тогда, если сюда, то к трем идти. Если там большой остров или что там? А там большой этот остров.
It is very shallow here, and the bottom is densely covered with aquatic vegetation. This becomes an additional obstacle for us. it is also a barrier for the seals. They won't come here or seek refuge in this area.
Мы доехали до шалыги, которые создают гряду, и там, в том направлении, на север, мы надеемся обнаружить ту шалыгу, где лежат тюлени.
We then decided to go around the Morskoy Island from the other side. After carefully navigating the shallow area, we turned east. The bottom here is free from vegetation, though it remains shallow. Along the way, we encountered many new sandbanks. We followed them north to our planned location. Our reward was a seal haul-out. To our delight, there were many seals here. They're safe and behave calmly, watching us with interest. We approach as closely as possible to conduct observations and scientific video recording without disturbing them. The conditions for seals on the new islands are good. They are difficult for people to access and lie directly in the path of the seals' annual migrations. The local waters are rich in fish. But not all is rosy. The area nearby is home to oil and gas fields, whose development is a matter of the near future. Where will the seals go? Where can they find a place where their life will not be disturbed by humans? Who will provide them with the necessary assistance and protection? Unlike the northern Caspian, the central Caspian is deep. On its southern side, the Kazakh part of the sea is bounded by the Kazakh Bay. In its eastern part lies the sandy spit Ada. Ada is a Turkmen word meaning island. Historical sources indicate that as early as 1763, there was an island here. Waves rolled over it, and people called it Agez Ada, island on the current. As the sea level fell, the island became longer. By 1830, it had already connected with the mainland. A long sandbar formed, creating a bay named Kenderli, which translates from Kazakh as wide or expansive. Today, the spit is known by both names, Kenderli and Ada. It stretches northwestward for 23 kilometers, and its width reaches 1.5 kilometers in the middle. The spit features a semi-desert landscape. It is covered with yellow sand dunes and shells. Saxaul and other desert plants grow here. And trees are beginning to appear. The rare Turanga tree provides a small shade for weary travelers. At the northwest end of the spit is a small bay with a tiny island. The surrounding area is shallow. There is an entrance to the bay with a depth of up to 5 meters. This entrance faces the bay, so even during the strongest storms, the bay remains calm. On the other side of the island, there is a convenient depth drop. In case of danger, seals can quickly move to safer depths. The bay's waters are also rich in fish. The first mentions of seal haulouts on the islands in the Canderley Bay date back to the 1980s. However, reliable data on the population were only obtained in November 2009. During a helicopter survey, a haulout of 700 individuals was discovered. Marking the highest number recorded in subsequent years of research. The last major haulout was observed in 2016, with nearly 500 seals at the Canderley rookeries. After that, seals disappeared from this area. Unfortunately, the reasons for the absence of seals in such favorable conditions are clear. The cozy beaches and gentle waters of the bay attract nature enthusiasts. However, this affection brings fear, pain, and death to the vulnerable world of Caspian wildlife. Life for seals at the Canderley haulouts could have been quite different. The regression of the sea creates truly ideal conditions. Extensive, wide beaches capable of accommodating thousands of animals are formed. Rich with fish waters and suitable depths make Canderley an ideal place not only for Caspian seals, but also for other representatives of the Caspian fauna and flora. They just need time to adapt to changing habitat conditions. But how? How to balance industrial interests with wildlife protection? This task falls to all Caspian Sea countries. After all, the seal does not recognize human-made borders and migrates throughout the Caspian Sea. But Kazakhstan has a special role to play. Only in the Kazakh part of the sea, the conditions remain suitable for the migration, breeding, and resting of the Caspian seal. Our research convincingly demonstrates the need to establish a state-neutral reserve for the protection of the Caspian seal. Only a protected area will allow the restoration and preservation of the islands, coastline, and waters of the Caspian Sea, while still permitting rational, environmentally sound economic activities However, restrictions on the use of natural resources are also necessary. It is also absolutely essential to create completely protected areas where human intervention in the natural world is entirely excluded. This is the only way to preserve the Caspian landscapes, prevent their degradation, and save their unique inhabitants. One of the important directions for economic development in the Caspian region is scientific and educational tourism. For its effective development, ecological attractiveness, clean water, coastline and air is more crucial than ever. And the Caspian seal is the primary indicator of this attractiveness. We must do everything to ensure that not only a select few can hear the voices of this unique marine mammal living amidst the deserts, steppes and mountains of Central Asia. It is up to us how long the Caspian seal will inhabit our planet. Its future depends on the decisions we make today and the choices we make now.